Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel. It is Baz here. Today guys, we're going to be talking about all of round 21. This is going to be a new thing I do on the channel. It's basically just a rundown of the AFL round for that week, and I'm going to be taking all the highlights that I found. So we're not going to cover everything, okay? There are going to be some things that we missed, but yeah, we're going to go and look at the best things from this round, in my opinion, some of the highlights and the key takeaways from mine. But yeah guys, it's an open forum. Let me know down in the comments after this video, you know, any takeaways or points you think I missed, please do. But yeah, so that's basically just the video. I'll hopefully do one of these every week, you know, as long with the tipping videos and other stuff that I think of along the way. But yeah, that's basically it. So starting off with Friday night, okay, this was a game I was actually at, so I'm going to try to keep it shorter because I could talk about this game for half an hour, to be completely honest. But what a game it was, okay? First time the Pies had played for Friday night in a very long time. I think it was Marvel's Stadium earlier in the year where we got absolutely flogged by the Dogs. But yeah, this was a great game. The build-up going into it was obviously just insane. I mean, the Ed Langdon comments on the radio, you know, one trick pony, all dark, no dinner. That just added to the theater of the game, and I think that's what made it up. You know, that's what added to it being the game of the year. The crowd was absolutely insane. I've got to say, a lot of the Melbourne games I've been to, Demon supporters just don't, I don't know what it is, okay? Nothing against Demon supporters, but they don't usually show up the way other clubs do. But this was a Demons home game, and I've got to say, the crowd atmosphere was absolutely insane. I was actually there with a mate who was a neutral viewer for this game, and even after the first quarter, he was saying how this had potential to be game of the year, and it was certainly, I'd probably put it in the top 3 games of the year by far. You know, I'm a little bit biased as a Pies fan, but even him as a neutral supporter, you know, was saying that this is probably game of the year. I mean, it was neck to neck for most of the game. You know, Demons felt like they had control. Those first 2 quarters, they were, you know, they had a handle on the Pies. We could not get it out of our defensive 50 when it was in there. And the D's just set up their insane grid defense, and it was just stuck on our back flank, and then the half forward flank just bouncing back and forth the entire game. Sorry, between the back and the wing. Yeah, it was just incredible to watch, and you seriously witness, you know, or what I witnessed was when the D's are doing what they do best, they are insane. And I honestly thought they were going to run away with it. I don't really know what happened, but our pressure just went up a notch after halftime, and we slowly clawed the game back in. And when we get within a goal now, it's so weird because I have some inner belief that when we get within a goal, it's like we have the team exactly where we want them. I don't know when you could have ever said that about any other team in recent history, but our record's just insane. And DeGoey had an amazing game. Ash Johnson for us is just a forward that looks like he's going to be great. And the Demons can still be the best. That's one thing I have learned. I mean, you cannot ignore how good their defense was. They just need to keep it up for 4 quarters and not let 20-point leads slip like that, like they did with us early in the year. Yeah, so props to these. What a great game it was. Moving on though to the Saturday. This was the game at Utah Stadium where Hawthorn took on the Suns down in Tasmania. Now, I tipped the Suns to win this game. I had the belief for the Suns because I thought what they had done throughout the year had been better than Hawthorn. For most part, it has been. I think everyone can agree with that. But unfortunately, like the Suns have done many times in the past, they couldn't capitalize when they really needed to. This was a game that could have put them still in the finals race. I mean, they still were in the finals race, not anymore after that loss. So really disappointing for the Suns. I was really hoping they'd win, and I thought they would win because they've played better this whole year. So it's a little bit of, you know, Suns from the last 5 years, you know, where they give up the games that they really just need to win. And that's what happened ultimately against Essendon as well a few weeks ago. But yeah, moving on to the next game, the Essendon game, Essendon Giants. I watched a little bit of this game. I watched the second half of it, and all as I can say is the Giants' pressure was honestly, it was sort of like ours, the Pies, on Friday night. The Giants just out-hunted Essendon. I mean, the amount of tackles, there was some insane stat. It was like 15 inside 50s tackles to, I think, 2 for the whole game for Essendon. So, yeah, the Giants just out-hunted them, high pressure. Simply put, it just looked like they wanted it more. And, yeah, they had more time and space. Every time Essendon got it, that was just a Giants player right on them like that. And that just leads to mistakes. And, yeah, the scoreboard showed who the better team was on the day. And, yeah, Giants got that done. So, Essendon back to Essendon. In a sense, if you're an Essendon supporter, let me know what you think about that game, because it was really just sort of back to the early stages of the year. Yeah, so, coming off some great form, 4 wins in a row, losing obviously after the siren to the Pies. And then it's been, they got a win against North and now this. So, yeah, I think Essendon supporters are going to be furious about this. And, yeah, we'll see how they go for the rest of the year. So, moving on to the game on Saturday night at Marble Stadium, we had the Bulldogs taking on the Fremantle Dockers. Yeah, I backed in the Dockers for this, and I'm glad to say, my tip was correct here. The Dockers just looked a few steps ahead, I would say, for most of the game. I didn't get to watch too much of this, so I can't comment too much. Yeah, but what I will say is the Bulldogs, they just transitioned, the Freo Dockers just transitioned through the ground so easily. And if the Bulldogs had held them up, they would just sort of switch sides back and forth, and eventually they'd pick off that target and just go straight in, with an easy forward lead up in their forward 50. So, yeah, Bulldogs just didn't defend for the most part that entire game, and pretty much after the first quarter, it was the Freo's game to win there, and now they've put themselves back in the position to, be hunting for that top 4 spot. They're obviously 2 points behind because of that draw. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Freo. Yeah, Freo and Brisbane, it's going to be a crazy end to the season. But yeah, the top 4 race is just incredible. It's been an incredible season without repeating myself 3 times there. But yeah, so I don't know what happens to the Bulldogs though. They seem to just fall off after making grand finals. Obviously in 2016, they made the grand final. They missed the year after completely. It's so weird. For a list, last year I was watching the Bulldogs and I thought their list has so much upside. They're going to be a great team for the next 5 years. Whilst I still think that their consistency and the way they just drop off is incredible. I don't think we've really seen another team do this in recent time. And now they're probably going to miss the finals, the Bulldogs. I think, they've blown their chances against, a few teams in the last few weeks. So, yeah, we'll see. They had that great win over Melbourne. They've still got a chance, but Richmond, you think they're going to win the next few games. So we'll see what happens there. But moving on to the Richmond game, I think my key takeaway for that is Richmond will make the top 8. I think I'm, pretty confident now that I think, Richmond will capitalize with St Kilda and Bulldogs letting their chances slip. It was only a few weeks ago where I think everyone had sort of thought that was it for Richmond after that draw and the loss to North Melbourne, sorry. They easily could have been competing for a top 4 spot earlier in the year, but just had some extreme inconsistencies, like the loss to Gold Coast and North Melbourne. An incredible effort last week to get over the line against Brisbane. So they've seriously just clawed their way back into this top 8 race here. And as I said, with the other teams, dropping their opportunities, it looks like they've got a good chance to make it in the 8 on the run home here. So yeah, Port, not too great. They've had a poor year. Pretty much from, terrible start, 0-5 at the start of the year. Got into some decent form, we all know that. But yeah, again, they just looked off the mark. I didn't watch, a lot of this game, but the last few quarters that I did see, the Richmond Tigers, they just did what they did. Pretty dominant there. And yeah, a lot more inside 50s, just more efficient. And yeah, Shai Bolton just had an incredible game. He's an amazing player right now. But yes. Alrighty, so going back to yesterday, Sunday, we obviously had the Brisbane and Carlton game. What a game this was going to be. Or, well, we all thought it was going to be a great game. But Brisbane, yeah, at the Gabba just did not give Carlton a chance from the start. Carlton went goalless in that first quarter, and it really looked like it was going to be an 80-point thrashing, and it was close to that for most of the game. But Brisbane, I don't know. I just can't trust Brisbane. I don't know what it is about them, but when they get onto a big lead, like they've done twice in the last few weeks, there was a moment there where I thought there is no way Brisbane are going to let another 40-point lead slip, especially at the Gabba, in front of their home crowd. I mean, I don't know. For me, I don't see Brisbane as a premiership contender. They have been so, just untrustable. I can't trust them. Sort of like Port the last few years. There's a lot of people saying they're pretenders and all that sort of stuff. Brisbane can't win a big game. They obviously have that insane losing streak at the MCG. But it's terrible for Brisbane fans to see, because they play so well in these first few quarters. They play a fast, attacking brand of footy. They move the ball quickly. And, when they're not making, skill errors and stuff like that, they're getting it in their forward half very, very quickly and just putting on a display. So, yeah, interesting. But I'd still be a little worried if I was a Brisbane fan, after seeing, what ultimately should have been probably a 50-40 point win. And Carlton having that 9-goal last quarter. Well, I think you'd be pretty furious if you were a Carlton and a Brisbane fan, because Carlton fans, well, they're really going to be struggling for a top 8 position now. And you see the way they play in that last quarter, you really wonder to yourself, where was that in the first 3 quarters? So, yeah, quite disappointing for Carlton fans. And after such a great start to the year, top 8 is still, a possibility of being missed for, what has been for the most part a good year. But yeah, alrighty, so moving on to the last game of the round. Well, this was just a game of... It was a bizarre game, to put it that way. I mean, you would have thought on paper that there was no way West Coast could have lost this game. I mean, I certainly thought. I know Crows were coming off a great win against Carlton, but, with Josh Kennedy retiring, I thought it was definitely... the Eagles had to win in front of a massive home crowd. And Josh Kennedy kicked 8 goals and they still lost, okay? I can't even think of a time personally since I've been watching AFL where there's been that many goals kicked and the team has still lost. I think he's been the only player this year to kick 8 goals in a game. And obviously being his last year, you sort of wonder, Jesus, there'd be so many teams like my team, Collingwood, he would want to pick him up for just a year or two. I mean, he's still obviously got it. Now, you probably wonder if West Coast were probably feeding him the ball a little more for his last game to go out in style. But yeah, he seriously kept them in that game. And it was such a close game the whole time. I don't know. It just baffles me, because I seriously thought the West Coast were going to get it done against Adelaide for his last game. Unfortunately not. Not all games end the way you want them to. But yeah, it was a good game, good rounds, and Crows fans, they've got 2 on the trot. So, ending the year in some decent form. But yeah, guys, that's the key takeaways for mine. But yeah, I'm more curious to hear your guys' takeaways, all your thoughts and whatnot. Let me know in the comments down below. And if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. I'd really appreciate a thumbs up as well. First time doing one of these videos, so I've still got to sort of figure out the format and the way I want to do it to make it as best as possible. I got some notes here, but I'm really, for the most part, reading off the cuff and talking about the games that I watched for the most part. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye bye.